Hi, friends. Welcome to Bowseat's Water Wednesdays webinar. My name is Alyssa Irizarry, and I'm the Senior VP at Bowseat Ocean Awareness Programs. And we are so happy that you are joining us this evening from wherever you might be in the world. And as you're settling in, please take a moment to introduce yourself and where you're zooming in from in the chat. And another ritual that we like to do at the beginning of these is if you want to share a body of water that is local or significant to you, it can be a stream or a lake or the ocean. Please also feel free to add that into the chat. It's nice to see some familiar names coming in. It's really great to have you all. For those of you who are new to Water Wednesdays, this webinar is the third in Bowseat's monthly series that kicked off this fall. And our goal has been to create a space for learning, for inspiration, and for conversation about our watery world and provide resources and opportunities to get involved and to build new community connections beyond the webinar. And in October, we used visualization tools to explore how watersheds connect us to the ocean no matter where we live. And last month, we spoke to Pangea Seed Foundation about their Seawalls program, which paints ocean advocacy murals worldwide. So if you're interested in watching these recordings, you can find them at our website, bowseat.org/waterweb. And I'll also be emailing all the folks who registered and are attending tonight with this recording, and you'll be able to find the playlist for all of our other recordings there as well. So the Water Wednesdays series was created in conjunction with Bowseat's 10th annual Ocean Awareness Art Contest. And this year's theme is Water Rising, which invites students to explore and understand their connection to water and to creatively communicate the need to protect this incredibly precious and life-sustaining relationship. So the driving question behind our programming this year is, what are the stories that we need to tell about water to sustain and conserve it for future generations of life on Earth? And the idea of water rising is more than the literal interpretation of sea level rise due to human-caused climate change. It's ultimately about water rising up in our consciousness and in our awareness. And it's about remembering that we are water. We are all literally bodies of water, and we all have a role to play in protecting water for human communities and aquatic life. So today we are centering stories about youth-led action to restore and protect our ocean planet. And nearly half of the world's population is under the age of 25 right now. And if you've been paying attention, they are truly a force to be reckoned with, as we've seen through the youth-led climate mobilization over the past 2 years, as well as the young leaders who are propelling global and intersectional movements for social justice. And, young people look at the state of oceans and the state of our world, and they know that something is fundamentally wrong and needs to change. And young people also recognize that the impacts of a climate already changed are going to be the defining features of the world that they inherit and inhabit. But thankfully, young people are also resisting and disrupting and frankly, rejecting the narrative that the necessary solutions are too big or too expensive or too radical. And, our planet faces really big and really daunting challenges, but youth are standing up to them with courage and with conviction, and are not only imagining possible alternatives, but also leading our communities in creating them. So I'm so excited to be joined as a co-host in this important conversation by Sean Russell, who is EarthEcho International's Associate Director of Youth Engagement and Partnerships, And I first met Sean 5 years ago, I think, through his work as the founder of the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit, which is an incredible annual event that equips young people with knowledge and tools and funding to create innovative ocean conservation projects. And it would truly take a whole nother hour to detail the amazing impacts of this program. But I do want to give a shout out to the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit, which just celebrated its 10th anniversary last weekend or 2 weekends ago, with a virtual summit that brought together hundreds of young people and adults. And it's truly an honor to know and partner with such a powerhouse of positive change for oceans. So thank you, Sean. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about your work and EarthEcho's work for our audience members who may be new to the organization.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Alyssa. Thanks for the kind words. It is such, right back at you. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have the chance to collaborate with you over the years and the amazing team at Bowseat. And I would echo that 10 years of congratulations to you guys. It's been so fun to just follow along and be inspired by the amazing creative artwork and storytelling that you've brought to life for young people around the world, and not just allow them to share, but really provided that avenue and platform to use those messages in a way to compel the public to take action. So I'm so thrilled and honored to be here tonight alongside some of our incredible youth leaders from EarthEcho to really dive in deeper to some of our work. And just for a little bit of background, EarthEcho International is an environmental education nonprofit that was founded about 15 years ago by Philippe and Alexandra Cousteau in honor of their father, Philippe Sr., and their grandfather, the legendary ocean explorer, Jacques Cousteau. And so, for so many, about a generation ago, Jacques Cousteau really introduced the world to the ocean through storytelling and through filmmaking and communications, really taking kind of the world underwater for the first time through films and inventing scuba diving. And today at EarthEcho, we're really honored to be able to carry on that legacy with a specific mission and focus on inspiring young people to act now for a sustainable future. And for us in that mission, really the key word is now, recognizing that young people don't have to wait till they're old enough to vote, to drive a car, to get into the workforce, whatever that might be, to have an impact. And that all of you who are here tonight are driving change in your communities and have such an incredible influence and power to affect change for the ocean. So all of our programs at EarthEcho are really designed to equip young people or the teachers and adult mentors that work with them with the tools and resources to take action around ocean health, biodiversity, and water quality challenges around the world. And so as we dive in with our discussion tonight, you'll hear some of the stories from the incredible young people that we have the pleasure of working with to take action on water health related issues in their local communities. So again, really excited to be here and dive deeper into the conversation with Alyssa in just a bit, but I'll turn it back over, Alyssa, to you to introduce our panel tonight.
Awesome, thank you, Sean. So yeah, I'm very excited to introduce our incredibly inspiring lineup of youth panelists. First, we have Chloe Wetzler, who is a student at the University of Virginia studying biology and Spanish. And Chloe grew up in Virginia Beach and has worked with the Virginia Aquarium, the Virginia Junior Master Naturalists, and the Virginia Beach Sea Camp. And her favorite marine creature, as I understand, is the small but mighty oyster. So we have that in common. So Maria Torres is a student at Boston University who's studying biomedical engineering and marine science. And in addition to her work with EarthEcho's Water Challenge and Youth Leadership Council, Maria has also served on the leadership board of Miami Waterkeeper, who are a nonprofit organization that focuses on protecting and preserving South Florida's watershed. Maria also established the Helping Pachamama project in 2018, through which she works with a rural community in Cusco, Peru, to initiate environmental education with young children to protect and preserve the water quality of the river Urubamba. And finally, but not least, Iris Vanderveen is a student at Miami Palmetto Senior High School. And Iris is also a Girl Scout leader in training and an active member of the Miami Surf Rider organization, in which she helps with beach cleanups and making restaurants more ocean friendly. Iris hopes to become an environmental scientist in order to help change the world and create a sustainable environment. So each of our panelists will give a brief overview of their personal water stories and efforts to protect waterways. And then we'll jump into a moderated conversation, and we will save time for Q&A, but if a question comes to you during the conversation, please feel free to throw it in the chat and we will get to it later.
Hi, so I'm Chloe Wetzler, as Alyssa said, and on this slide are pictures from my very first project in the realm of ocean conservation. And this was a very local, very small scale project based in the parking lot of the Virginia Aquarium, where basically for 2 hours each week in the summer, we would go out with gloves and plastic baggies and pick up cigarette butts, which doesn't sound like a lot, but each week we collected thousands and thousands of these cigarette butts. And that was really my first introduction into the world of marine conservation, because we got to see that even if there were 3 of us that showed up, some days there were more, we got to really make a difference, because every single cigarette butt we picked up that day wasn't going to end up in the ocean like it would have otherwise. And so from there, we did a lot at the aquarium, mainly guest experiences. So when guests would come in, we would talk about recycling, composting, any environmental kind of topic. And that was really great to do educational outreach. And from there, I really learned to love speaking about the environment. And so that was my next big project. Was I was a team leader for Virginia Junior Master Naturalists. And this was based in Virginia Beach as well. And it was kind of like a summer camp, except it was during the school year. So we had 20 kids in early elementary school who would come, and we would teach them all about local species and habitats that we have here in Virginia Beach. And this was really amazing to see kids fall in love with nature and the oceans around them. And from there, really, I fell in love with the oceans, and anything I ever saw about marine biology, science, environmental clubs, I just signed up for it and tried to spend as much time in the ocean as I possibly could. So I started snorkeling. I taught myself how to scuba dive and took the certification test. And I just realized I loved oceans. And so I was so lucky to find EarthEcho and have a new way to get involved and teach kids and people about water quality and why it's so important. So these pictures are from my water quality event last year. This year we had to do a virtual one, but we had really cool setups in the aquarium, and it was just amazing to be able to talk to guests. And I love talking, so it's a fun thing to do because everyone gets to become educated more about some really important issues that aren't really spoken about in other venues, really. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got involved in Virginia Beach.
Awesome. Thanks, Chloe. Maria, can we hear you? I don't know if we need to tweak a setting to let you off mute. Let's see.
Okay, now it works. Yeah, I
go.
couldn't
Perfect.
unmute myself for some reason.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Maria, and I'm very excited to be here and share my story and conservation efforts with you. So originally I'm from Peru, but I live in Miami, Florida, and ever since I was little, I always traveled back and forth to be with both sides of my family. But I did school here, and in high school, I grew like exponentially. I grew a passion for the environment and like environmental conservation, and I really wanted to do something. I wanted to be involved more in like organizations like EarthEcho that kind of guided me to how I can make a change in my own community and make a change in how we live, so we can preserve the environment and like keep living and have Mother Nature healthy. So basically, in these pictures, this is me working with EarthEcho International. So this was during my beginning, like one of my first 2 years working with EarthEcho and being a Water Challenge ambassador. So when I learned about EarthEcho, I was so excited that I got accepted because I applied to the program, and I was very excited. I was beyond excited. I was in high school, probably a sophomore, and I was diving into this new audience, this organization that helped me, taught me how I can change my community, what I can do to make a change in my community. So then I was so happy I got in, and after meeting all the other ambassadors and Sean and the EarthEcho family, I was incredibly inspired by them because all of them were working on projects and activities that were helping the environment and spreading awareness. And and spreading awareness to other people. And EarthEcho really helped me to take action too. And so in these pictures, this is me and my EarthEcho partner, who was also Water Challenge ambassador. And we would host events at schools, especially during September, since it was World Water Monitoring Day. And which usually took place in the middle of September. So what we would do in the schools was spread knowledge and spread awareness on climate change, the water crisis, and especially problems that are going on in South Florida. For example, like coral bleaching or excessive algae blooms. So what we would do is we would bring in water from Biscayne Bay or the ocean, and so they could also see for themselves how the water quality in the ocean, how the water quality is in the oceans that is nearby them, or by a body of water that is nearby, and so that they can directly relate to it. So we explained to them also the reason why so many environmental problems are happening, and we would also explain to them why it's important and how it affects them. And we always try to also bring in like solutions, like what we can do to decrease this pollution that anthropogenic activity is causing upon our environment, our ecosystems. And so some of the things we would suggest is like creating a compost bin or decreasing our consumption in plastic products, especially single-use plastics. So in the next slide, I also have a picture of me working with EarthEcho and the Future in the Bag program, which was developed by the Youth Leadership Council at the time. And the basis of this program was to establish reusable bag swap stations in locations where plastic bags are used. So that way people who don't have access to a reusable bag, they don't use a plastic bag, but the reusable one that the store provides. But with the help of EarthEcho, me and my EarthEcho partner also successfully launched a station in a food market called the Golden Hog. And here you can see me along with the store manager and installing the station and like having a sign that says what this is about. And like, so basically it's like a library system. People come in, use a bag if they don't have their own reusable bag. But the goal is basically to decrease the consumption of plastic bags. And so we successfully launched it, and we launched it in the Golden Hog, and they posted a really nice Instagram picture explaining what the bag is about, because people who go there are usually locals. So they kind of follow the Instagram page, and the Instagram was a great way to showcase what the program was about. And then in the next slide, I also have my own project that I was so inspired after like being part of Marine Waterkeeper and EarthEcho specifically. I was super inspired. I wanted to do something, wanted to take action. So I created my own project. And in my project, it's called Helping Pachamama, which focuses on initiating environmental education in rural communities through activities such as the Water Challenge, which is like testing the water quality of a nearby body of water. And I do this with young children to protect and preserve the local body of water. So what I do in my project is that I teach the kids science, but more specifically environmental science that relates to climate change and global warming. So basically I explain to them the importance of keeping our environment healthy and how a contaminated ecosystem negatively affects them. Another focus in my project is to restore the river next to the community, which is called River Urubamba, by talking to the city's government officials and also telling the kids about it. And I think it's a great way, if I do this with the kids, a great learning experience for them and for me. Just to end my presentation, I just also want to tell you that people inspire people, and that if you want to do something, if you want to make a change, do it, go for it, because we can really help each other out in difficult circumstances. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Iris Vanderbean. I'm a high schooler, and today I'm just going to take you like quickly on my journey and quest for environmental sustainability. So I was never the kid who had a passion. Like I know that there's kids who from a very young age have said that they wanted to become, was watching people litter or drop trash nearby, had to put it somewhere. So that being said, I traveled to visit my family in the Netherlands, and they have a wonderful recycling program, a wonderful waste management program. And so there was never any litter around. And I was so confused as to why we don't implement things like that here in America. So that led to a lot of research, kind of disappointment in some sense. And in the end, I found my passion. So after that, I was able to find different avenues that I could put this passion into. So like research-wise, I joined EarthEcho International, and I was able to test water monthly. As for like educational purposes, I'm a Girl Scout leader in training. So every year, like the past 2 years, I've been doing a water testing event for Worldwide Water Monitoring Day with my Girl Scout troop that are younger girls. So we discuss all of that different stuff with them, so they're able to take it on and carry it on the projects that like we hold near and dear to our hearts, because like the younger generation are able to make an impact as well. So I found like a really cool park that I enjoyed going to. It's been impacted by a couple hurricanes that have hit Miami. So that picture right there, the bridge is tilted, and the reason it's tilted is because of the hurricanes. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that I was talking about the different avenues, right? Okay, so different avenues. We also, I was able to get a little bit more into like activism and policy this year when EarthEcho decided to implement Ocean 30 by 30, because it was something that I did not have a lot of knowledge on, and we were able to talk about like policymakers and what they're able to do, and how like we as young people can like push them to make the decisions that we think are valuable for our future. So that was really important. And I would like to repeat what Maria said and just reiterate that people inspire people. And I honestly think that it's better to do something than nothing. So like even, you know, picking up a piece of trash, going to a cleanup, you know, something small can make such a big difference if you, I don't know, take the time to do it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those were such different but inspiring stories that have the common thread of care and love and connection to water, and really being inspired by other folks that were in your programs, that were your educators, other leaders that you observed that really made a difference. And I just love hearing those through lines across the story. So thank you guys all for sharing and for all the work that you do. And I know that we want to jump into a conversation. Sean, do you want to kick us off?
I would love to. Again, echoing those comments. Thanks for sharing. And I think I will mention two quick things. You guys heard plugs for two of our programs at EarthEcho. So the EarthEcho Water Challenge, which is our global citizen science water quality monitoring program. So equipping young people around the world to monitor water quality, share their data, and then take action with that science and data to protect local waterways. And then Iris touched on our OceanEcho 30 by 30 initiative, which is something new this year, and we'll get deeper into that, but all about protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030 and how we elevate youth voice in support of that. But I'm excited to kind of dive back into those stories. I love seeing your journeys and your passions shine through in this conversation. And I'm curious, kind of thinking way back with this obviously Balseat's theme this year of water rising. I'm curious, how was water part of your life as a child? How are you connected to your local waterways? I love seeing the comments, everyone in the chat, where they're connected to our water planet. And how has water influenced your life or path, whether it's with your studies, your work, or your activism? Who wants to kick us off? Where do we want to dive? Yeah, Chloe, go for it.
I can start. So I grew up in Virginia Beach, and something I remember like way back in elementary school history classes, one thing that really stuck out with me is we always learned about oysters, and in the like context of Jamestown and the early settlers. And basically way back then, the Native Americans and the settlers at Jamestown, there were so many oysters in the bay that the reefs like blocked rivers, and it caused trouble for ships trying to pass, and they could wait out and just collect giant meaty oysters. And we would see pictures, and that to me was crazy to hear that the bay right now, which to me looked like we had a lot of oysters, was at like 1 to 2% of those historic levels, which thinking about that as a kid for me was just crazy to see how much human activity such as dredging and overharvesting of oysters in the 1900s like really had just taken a horrible toll on the natural environment. And that was like my first real thought about how much of an impact human activity has on our environment. And because that example hit so close to home. That was really one way that, like, as a kid, just learning about stuff like that really makes you want to take action and start thinking about how you can consciously change other actions to help protect the ocean and marine life.
So that's great, Chloe. And I, again, love to see the personal connections to your local watersheds that have that influence as well, too. And Natalie, I see your comment about the connection to your families in the Mediterranean Sea. I love in these stories, too, and from our panelists and from the group, too. It's just so apparent how water connects everyone everywhere. I think is such a key theme through all of this work. Iris, how about you? What is that? How have you been connected to or influenced by our water planet?
Well, I think living in Miami, Florida, water is all around all the time. And a big part of that is obviously the ocean because we live in Florida. So, geographically it makes sense. But water personally to me has meant a lot because I've always been the kid who wanted to go outside and do something with my hands. So like swimming, playing with dirt and just random stuff. And so keeping all of that protected and making sure that other people are able to appreciate the things that I appreciated when I was little, like going to the beach, different things that that are good memories that I hold near and dear. The younger generation deserves to go to the same beaches and see the same sites that I got to see without it being cluttered with trash or litter or polluted with oil. Like it's important to me to make sure that the younger generation is able to have those experiences.
That's great. I appreciate that comment so much too about the personal responsibility that we all share in this work as well. Maria, how about you? What are those personal connections for you? Oh, Maria, you're on mute. Let's see.
Can't. Okay, now it works. Yeah, for some reason I can't unmute myself sometimes. So now it works. Hopefully, if everyone can hear me.
Yep, all good.
Yeah. So yeah, like Iris, I also grew up most of my life in Florida, in Miami, Florida. So I was very close to the beach. So I was very fortunate to be close to the beach and experience the beauty of like the sunrise and see the ocean and like just hearing the waves. I think for me, why why I connect so much with the ocean and water is because I live close to it, but also because I just find it so peaceful and calm. And knowing about the issues that Florida faces, specifically, like for example, when there's toxic algae blooms or coral bleaching, I know that, and I've learned through high school and throughout time, and right now while I'm majoring also in marine science, that if the ocean isn't healthy, then the ocean needs to be healthy for everything else to be healthy. So it's very important to keep all the ecosystems balanced and like healthy, because in the end it will affect us indirectly or directly, whether we like to admit it or not. So I feel that's one way how I slowly connected the ocean that I live near to, and how I also gained awareness on like why it's important to keep the ocean healthy and why it's important to not overfish, or why it's important to not put too much nutrients into the water, because in the end we fish out of the ocean, we use sources from the ocean. So in order to keep living and live a healthy life and a balanced life, we have to also keep our ecosystems balanced and healthy too.
Great points, Maria. And I will say one thing that's a theme in a lot of our work at EarthEcho is that human connection to these issues too. A lot of times, when we talk about the environment, we sometimes talk about environments and animals and things that are far removed from people's daily lives. And I think having those connections back to how water, as Alyssa kicked us off saying, water influences our lives every single day. And I think that's so important to look at the human health side of this and how it's connected to, not only your personal life, but your friends, your family, and community as well. Alyssa, I will turn it back over to you to dive into our next question.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this reminder of interconnectedness, and building off of that, the thing about water is that we are all downstream from someone or upstream from someone. And I would love to hear your perspective and how this plays out in your work, and what that interrelationship between being upstream or downstream, what that looks like, how you see that in your water quality monitoring work, how you see that in your activism. I would, however that question speaks to you. So who would like to jump in first?
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So where I test water, it's the ocean meets like a bay. So it's brackish water. It's the salt water and the fresh water mix. So I think one thing that I've noticed, like interconnection wise, is whenever it's spring break and people go out on their boats, because we live in Florida, they bring like those plastic cups, you know, like the whole shebang, so that way they can have a good time, which perfectly fine. But after I go to visit exactly where I test water, and there's so much more trash than there was the first time around, and that completely just has to do with the fact that like the ocean brings it in. So I think that like waterways connect, you know, and in some sense too, you can connect it to like humanity, like we're all connected. And the environmental movement, like we as people have to work together in order to be connected, so we can continue on like as the human race, you know. So yeah, that's interconnection for me.
Similarly to what Iris said, in Virginia Beach, we're right at kind of the junction between the Chesapeake Bay, the Atlantic Ocean, the Lynnhaven River. So for us, it's really clear to see how different waterways are connected. And especially the Chesapeake Bay is kind of famous because the watershed includes 6 states. So that includes New York and Pennsylvania as well, which are pretty far from like the actual bay itself. So people who can live like far from an actual body of water might not realize at first how their actions do affect the watershed down in Virginia, which is kind of a crazy concept to think about, but it's so true. And I think with that concept, something that is really motivating is to think about the concept of like thinking globally, but acting locally. So even if you are really passionate about water issues and you live in an area that's landlocked or you don't have natural sources of water, you can still make conscious actions to help water. And I know someone in the chat talked about reducing water pollution. And even things like picking up your dog's waste or not using chemical fertilizers in your lawn, all of those through runoff and the watershed systems, that all brings like chemical pollutants into the ocean and can cause eutrophication. So even if you're not really on the water itself, your actions are still so important to the health of water pretty much everywhere because it is all connected.
Yeah, thanks, Chloe. I love that you made that connection. And something that amazed me when I learned about it, I don't know when it was, but that like the water that's been cycling through our system and that connects us all has been doing so for billions of years. And so it's that same water that has sustained our planet for millennia. And I think that's also a really helpful reminder to think about it as a finite resource, but also as this ancient relationship that we have. So yeah, thanks for drawing that connection as well to watersheds and how we can be really, really far away from what we perceive to be a bay or an ocean, but that ultimately our actions where we are will impact that water hundreds of miles away. Maria, do you have anything to add as well?
Chloe and Iris basically nailed it, but I just do want to say that when I think of the question, like we live downstream from someone and upstream from someone else, anything we put into the environment will eventually come back to us. That water will eventually affect us in one way or another. So I feel like that question also relates to like, don't basically help each other out. Don't litter, because that litter will eventually come back to you one day. Or essentially, we should all help each other, and we're all interconnected, like Iris and Chloe said.
Awesome. Great answers, guys. I will jump back in, and I love the themes that we're building on here, from the interconnectivity and certainly the impact and the responsibility that we all share for our water resources. And also I think that goes, and I think Alyssa, this has been really seen in Balseat's contest over the years. You know, this is not just for young people on the coast. It's, you know, people everywhere. Inland audiences are so connected to the ocean as well, and that's often seen through the work and programs that we run. Is there's so much interest and passion for the ocean, even in people who don't necessarily live or grow up along the coast as well. I think one of the fun things about, you know, this work and being in this community with all of you is, you know, we all learn so much every day, I think, in this space and working at ocean conservation and water quality work. And I'm curious for all of you, you've done such great work even in different communities, different countries, even on water quality monitoring on the science. And we've worked with at EarthEcho over 1.6 million people around the world monitoring water quality. And I'm curious for the three of you, what's been a surprising takeaway or lesson learned through your experiences? Chloe, do you want to kick us off? I see you coming off mute. Go for it.
Yeah, something that always it shouldn't surprise me anymore, but it always does, is just that in talking to so many different people from different backgrounds, like every single person, no matter where they are, has this little like gem of wonder for the oceans that's like kind of deep down inside. And if you can access that, like people are willing to learn so much. And at first, when I started with EarthEcho, I was talking about, oh, monitoring water quality, which the phrase itself isn't the most like captivating or fascinating thing. But when you pull out the little vials of colorful water and have people comparing it to charts and talking about the effects of water quality on like ocean life and animals, really you can connect to so many people that way. And that it's like motivating for me because then I get to see that really there is hope and people do care if they take the time to listen and learn. So that's something that's surprising and kind of heartwarming too through this work.
I love that. Such a great way to look at it. Such a great point. I think, we have some people in this work who get really excited about the science, and we have other people who get really excited about the art and the communication, and kind of blending all this in this conversation tonight, I think is also really, really powerful. Maria, how about you? What's something that's been surprising in your experience working on the citizen science water quality monitoring work?
So what I find surprising, when the last years when I've been going to Cusco for the Helping Pachamama project they have, what was surprising was that, so the children that I work with, they live in a rural community. So the school they go to doesn't essentially offer them like very science-based classes. Most of the time they just learn Spanish and like the literature and just something that they can get through with as they grow old, but not essentially any science-based or mathematically based. Then the school isn't that way. They're not math and science based since it's also government funded. So they don't have a lot of funding in that area. So when I did go there and when I talked to the children there and I explained to them what, for example, the water challenge is, and we started opening the pills and the vials and like putting in the water. And I told them and I explained to them like what these parameters were and like what this means, what's the science behind it. They were all very curious, and I didn't find that surprising, but I just find that amazing. Like once they learned about it, and they were very intrigued by like why is this color pink? Why is that green? Or for example, why does about the dissolved oxygen, like what color means what? And they didn't know fish breathe in oxygen because they don't have a science class there that teaches them that. So then they don't breathe in oxygen, but they use oxygen. So they're very amazed. And I find that very surprising. Not surprising, but I was just amazed by it because once you learn about something or once you have the opportunity to learn about something, I find that curiosity really finds its way.
Great points, Maria. Thanks so much for sharing that. I think that curiosity is something that, I think in all of our work, we try to keep that alive, in people throughout their lives, because I think it's so important when we talk about, science literacy and environmental literacy and understanding these issues and just asking questions, I think is so critical and important as well. Iris, how about you? What do you think about kind of lessons learned or key takeaways?
I think something that surprises me is how complex or simplistic you can make the explanation behind the water testing. Because like when you're explaining it to elementary school kids, you obviously want to explain it a little bit more in words that they would be able to understand versus if you're explaining it to like adults, but both ways the same message comes across, like that water is important and that it plays a huge role in the ecosystem, our lives, everything. And so I think that that's a really cool concept, like especially when we do water monitoring events, because every year you're able to have the opportunity to reach a different audience or go with the same one that you did before. And so I think that that's a really cool aspect of it.
Awesome. Love the adaptability that you guys have all shown. I know there's a question about COVID adaptability we will get to in a little bit as well too, but it's been great to see how you've made this work for all different ages and all different audiences too. Alyssa, take it away.
Yeah, Chloe, I want to just uplift what you said about everyone having a gem of wonder for the oceans. It's like, I'm gonna put it on my wall. I love that. But it really made me think of, at Bowsy, we believe that creativity plays a really important role in conservation. And I think what art can do is unearth that gem, or creative media or creative expression can really unearth that gem and remind people about that wonder, or can help translate some of the more difficult issues or more challenging scientific data to understand into an emotional experience of hearing that information. So I would love to hear for each of you how the arts or creative communication or creative media plays a role in the work that you do to protect water. Iris, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention in my introduction, but with being a Girl Scout, you have to do different community service projects in order to get different awards. So I'm currently working on my Girl Scout Gold Award project, which has to do with environmental science and sustainability. So part of that is education about recycling and waste management in my community, because a lot of people don't know how exactly you're supposed to recycle efficiently for themselves, as well as how to do it so it doesn't get thrown out, because if you don't do it correctly, they don't accept it. And in that sense, you might as well not recycle, you're just wasting time and effort and everything. So going along with that, I've made a lot of pamphlets, and with that, I have to create art and different like creative pieces to go with that. And I think it's really cool because a lot of people are drawn to things based on art, and I think that it's another way to express yourself. Like when, how are you feeling about the issue that you are trying to combat with whatever it is you're working on, put that into your piece, like show the world what it is that, like the passion that you feel inside, like you can express it, digitally, creatively, all that stuff. So I think that that's the way that I implement it right now.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that you brought in the maker and not just the viewer of the artwork, because I think that's such an important part of the combination is what you put into the piece, how that comes through the piece. And if it's an authentic, emotional, passionate experience, as you say, that can really be felt and draw people in to the cause and inspire them to take action. So thank you for that.
Something that sticks out to me is the Virginia Aquarium has kind of a renowned stranding response team. So they respond to and help rehabilitate cold stun turtles or like beached marine mammals. And one project they did a few years back was a lot of times when they find turtles or when they find any animal that's deceased, they perform a necropsy. And one thing that was really tragic is when they save stomach contents from these animals, and a lot of what we find in their stomachs are trash, plastic pollution, balloons, you name it. And they made an exhibit a few years back called Trash Talking Turtles, where they made sculptures of turtles with kind of like a wire hollow shell, and inside was real trash that had been found in dead animals, and some of the trash had like caused them to suffocate. And so just like it's kind of a hard concept to explain maybe to younger kids, but for visitors of the aquarium to come and see like right in front of them human pollution that ended up in these turtles' stomachs, like that was a message that just resonated really easily to be able to see it. But it was like the turtles were pretty, but it was like kind of a weird parallel. But that is probably just, it really sticks out as something that was really powerful, and it did a great job of kind of getting across the message about conservation in a really nice way.
Yeah, absolutely. We see a lot of sad and hard to sit with artwork through the students that participate in our Ocean Awareness Contest. Sad in that, it's very real in depicting what is happening to our oceans or to our environment. And we've seen so much artwork that, not just visual art, but poetry and film, and even in songs that really talks about this, tragic toll that plastic is taking on our oceans and on marine life, and also on human life, right? But I think that there's something really powerful about experiencing those difficult kinds of conversations through artwork, conversations that you're having with yourself, with the artist through their depictions, and then ultimately, hopefully, with others about what you've experienced. But I think it's really important for us to feel that in order to change our behaviors and to change the way that we interact with, hopefully for the better, right, with the planet. So, sometimes the artwork can be moving in a lot of different ways, and I think honoring those different emotional experiences is part of the process of environmental change. Maria?
Yeah, so For me personally, when I think about this question, I think about when I worked in Future in the Bag program. So to make the bags, to put them into the supermarket, into the Golden Hog, we had to design a sort of image on the bag. And what Domingo had an amazing idea, who is my EarthEcho partner. We went to Key Biscayne, and we went to this art exhibit. Not art, it was like an art building, not an art building, but it was like many activities were going on in that building, and one of them included art classes. So then we talked to the teacher there, and the teacher had many students, especially younger students, who I thought and Domingo thought would be an amazing opportunity for them to create art on to create a design for our bags. So then Domingo went. I couldn't go, but he showed me photos, and he was so happy after the session because everyone was drawing. The kids knew in a sense about like what it means to have an unhealthy environment and what it means to have a healthy environment, and it showed through their art. So that was very beautiful to see because you could see like the healthy, strong earth, like having a really a bicep, for example, or like the trees growing out and having a happy face, and then you have a tree with a sad face, or like a tree that is cut down, basically. So I think art can relate to everyone, especially children too. And I think it's a great way to express how you feel about the environment. And like, it also, art can really empower someone else to take action and to do something. For example, personally for me, whenever I see an artwork that is super powerful, for example, I saw some examples on the website that were very powerful, and it really made me emotional. And I think that's what art does. It makes other people, their emotions, it makes other people have emotional feelings towards environmental conservation and causes them to truly make a difference or want to make a difference.
A resounding yes to that. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that.
All right, Alyssa, you tell me if we want to dive into some more of our kind of conversation discussion or bounce over to, I've seen a couple questions that I flagged in the chat, but you tell me, we're having such a great conversation. Where should she go next?
Yeah, well, I also saw the question in the chat about continuing feeding our passions for the environment during COVID restrictions, not being able to always see each other and build that energy, in-person energy. So I would love to touch on that question because I think it speaks to a lot of what we've been speaking about already. So I would love to, how are you guys staying passionate, staying motivated, staying energized, and continuing to do this great work?
Social media has been a really great tool during this time of like transitioning to virtual. And we talked about earlier, like Ocean Echo 30 by 30. And that's something where if you know hashtags for conservation or anything related to that, if you look them up, like at your fingertips instantly are all these resources for webinars such as this one or other kinds of educational events where it's not the same, but it actually has been quite motivating and inspirational to go to different webinars and meetups and youth action. There are so many conferences that you guys can find, such as the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit. So really with social media and the EarthEcho website as well has great resources. It is possible to stay connected and stay inspired.
What I've been doing to stay connected, like Chloe said, is attending different summits. I feel like hearing other people explain the passion that they have is really inspiring for you to continue with your own. So that's definitely something that helps promote you to stay motivated, because being alone all the time in your house is definitely not motivating. But for like my project, my Girl Scout Gold Award project, I've had to make a lot of changes in order to continue my work while we've had the pandemic going on. So like emails, lots of electronic meetings and Zoom calls. But that's pretty much it. Like social media is a great tool. But I feel like, this can go back to art, you know what I mean? Like inspire yourself in a different way, because there's so many different like songs and raps about environmental science and like sustainability, and people like make intricate pieces that like you can spend hours figuring out. So I feel like it's something else that you can also spend your time on, and it gets you away from your electronics for a while, like away from the computer, So those are some things that I've been doing and trying to keep going throughout this time.
Yeah, I do want to give, and I'll share this link later, but I do want to give a quick shout out to the Bowsy website as well and our student gallery of just incredible artwork from young people around the world, and some of these really fun environmental reps and, you know, all kinds of music genres and film genres and visual art of all media and poetry and writing. And you can really get lost in that gallery for hours. So I will share the link to this later, but I did want to kind of echo that sentiment that, yeah, art and creative expression and diving into that is so critical for our health right now. Maria, what about you? What's been feeding you in these times?
No, yeah, I completely agree. Art is a great way. But personally, too, due to COVID, I think I said this earlier too. I wasn't able to go back to Peru this summer. And I also want to say something about the word helping Pachamama, which is the name of my project. So I forgot to tell you guys that Pachamama is a word in Quechua, which is the like the language that is from Peru, and Pachamama means earth. So helping Pachamama is basically means helping the earth. I just wanted to clarify what the word, what the name of my project is. But so yeah, in the summer I couldn't go to Peru to continue my project because of COVID, unfortunately. So I was really bummed, but I think because of COVID, so many people now are using, like, for example, Zoom or like other types of like social media. So now more than ever, you can reach out to even more people. So you can tell them not whatever you want to say, but you can reach out, like any project you do, and you can reach out to many more. So for example, summits are a good way. And this past year also, the EarthEcho held their Youth Leadership Summit, and it was amazing. I was so inspired after. It was a 3-day summit, and it was amazing. I feel like people should go and attend these summits because you feel so inspired and motivated to do something too. And like hearing other people's stories and like knowing how they got to where they are also helps you, like, oh, I should do this and I should start maybe this way, or it kind of guides you on what you should do to also accomplish your own goals or any environmental goal you have. And now another thing is that this past September also, the Water Challenge Committee also did their they had to do their presentations for the World Water Monitoring Day. And I feel like I heard most of them say too that they even reached more people than they could if they did it in person. So maybe that's also a great, so COVID kind of is like a good and a bad, because now you can create Zoom calls and like reach 500 or like 100 people to 500 people and inspire them and tell them, or maybe do something with them through Zoom and guide them on how to do like maybe a compost bin through Zoom and like the reason why compost bins are good for the environment and other activities that you can do with many more people than if you could in person.
All great comments, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to jump in real quick and touch on something that Maria just alluded to as well. So obviously we've got Maria and Iris and Chloe here. I also want to give a shout out to Amelia, who's joined tonight, one of our other incredible Water Challenge ambassadors. Thanks for hanging out with us. But again, it's been, I think, one of the things for me working in this intersection of environmental education and youth leadership programs, there's been such incredible opportunities to see young people maintain the momentum of this work, even in challenging circumstances, even in the kind of flexible, adaptable times we've had to be in this year. You know, we've seen, as Maria said, some of the impact of these programs even grow larger and have a wider reach and be able to connect more young people. And for us at EarthEcho, a lot of our programs are kind of virtually connecting young people. Even on a normal basis, we do try to find those opportunities to get together in person when we can, but we've been really excited to see how people can collaborate and work together in that virtual space and still have some fantastic impact on the ground in their local communities, which, Alyssa, thanks for bringing the slides up here too. Perfect segue.
It was kind of an accident, but
no, perfect. So if you're ready, I can dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Dive into this. So again, really excited to have the chance to join you all tonight and have this conversation. A big thanks to Chloe and Iris and Maria for sharing your passion and experiences and all your incredible leadership in this space. I do want to just touch on a couple of quick opportunities to get involved in the work that they're speaking about. I see there's questions in the chat kind of related to this, so perfect timing. One, we'd love for you to join in the EarthEcho Water Challenge. So that's one of our signature programs at EarthEcho. As I mentioned, we've had about 1.6 million people around the world monitoring water quality, sharing their findings and their data, and then using that data to inform actions to protect their local watersheds. So you can check out monitorwater.org to join in and be part of that effort. You also heard a few of our panelists tonight mentioned, our EarthEcho 30 by 30 campaign, which is a new project we've launched this year, all about protecting, restoring the ocean. So we're really working to get to a goal of protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030 and really elevating youth voice and leadership in that work through habitat restoration, through education and outreach, and as Iris mentioned, through policy engagement on that topic as well. So one of the options that we have, and Maria actually just helped work on, is a new toolkit to help all of you lead presentations or events in your community all about 30 by 30 and marine protected areas and ocean conservation. And all of those resources can be found over at earthecho.org/youth, which is also where you can sign up for our Youth Action Network alerts. You can learn about future events and programs. You can learn about how to apply to become a Youth Leadership Council member or Water Challenge Ambassador, and dive in deeper to all of this work alongside Chloe and Iris and Maria and the rest of our network of young leaders around the world. And then 2 quick plugs. We do have just 2 events coming up in the next 2 days. I figured I would just touch on tomorrow. We've got a special panel that one of our Youth Leadership Council members is joining, along with Representative Grijalva, who's the chair of the U.S. House Natural Resources Committee, all about ocean climate action and that 30 by 30 concept. So be sure to check that out and register if you're interested. You guys, thanks Alyssa for dropping those links in the chat. And then one kind of related storytelling opportunity is over the next 3 days, we have a really cool opportunity to screen the film I Am Greta, all about Greta Thunberg's work on climate activism. So you can check out and register at the link you see in the chat. And you'll have free on-demand access to watch that film with your friends and family over the course of the upcoming 3 days. So be sure to check that out. Again, feel free to reach out to us at EarthEcho or connect with us on social media if you've got any questions. And I just want to say a huge thanks to Alyssa and Balsi for making this all possible and your incredible work. And to all the viewers tuning in, we really appreciate your commitment to protecting our water planet as well.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm actually signed up for this I Am Greta screening, so I'm very excited to get that link and watch it this weekend. And I also am going to drop a link in the chat for Bauseat's resource section of our website. We've got a huge page for students, for teachers. We've got inspiration pages, and we also have a whole page where we list out specifically opportunities for students to dive in deeper to ocean conservation, to climate action, to connecting with other youth artists or activists. We update that monthly. So, there's campaigns, there's conferences, there's events, and there's other organizations to check out. And I know EarthEcho, we always have your resources on there because there's so many great ones. So definitely check that out if you are looking for resources to continue to get involved beyond the amazing things that Sean has shared. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Bauseat's Ocean Awareness Contest, the program is open now through June. So like I said at the beginning of the webinar, the theme is Water Rising this year. And we are inviting young people from around the world, ages 11 through 18, to create visual art, film, music, interactive and multimedia, poetry and spoken word, writing, creative writing, all that speaks to this theme, Water Rising. And students can earn cash awards of up to $1,500. And all of the artwork becomes part of our global collection that is helping to raise awareness and inspire protections of our ocean. So we've got this online resource studio, and I already shared the link, as I mentioned before, that you can explore water through multimedia, articles, games, other artists' work, and lesson plans for teachers. And we also offer a $750 Educator Innovation Award for teachers who use the Ocean Awareness Contest as a teaching tool, whether that's in a physical or virtual classroom. And I will also drop the link to our contest in the chat, but you can find much, much more information about that on our website. And yeah, finally, please save the date for next month's webinar on Wednesday, January 20th. We'll be speaking with the filmmaker and Pulitzer Prize winning reporter, David Abel, who documents water stories through film and journalism. So that concludes our Water Wednesdays. And I just want to give a huge, huge, huge shout out to Chloe, to Iris, to Maria, to Sean for all of the work you do. We are just honored and delighted and yeah, really just proud to be in partnership with all of you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your stories, which I know were inspirational to myself and to all of the attendees here. And we can't wait to share this recording with many, many more people. And thanks to all of you who joined us this evening, and we hope to see you at future events. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, guys.
And thank you to everyone who came and watched. We're really glad that you guys are taking an interest.